everybody. Welcome back to Suspenders Unbuttoned Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Julie, and we're excited to welcome John Yapp to the podcast. Welcome, John.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to talk with you. For those that don't know, you are the director of photography for When Hope Calls, which is almost done with season 2 right now. We're heading into episode 5. So welcome. We're excited to talk about that. And also, we wanted to say congratulations on your nomination for A Not So Royal Christmas.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
that's exciting. That's a good one. We love Will Kemp, and of course Brooke. We've actually talked with both of them before. So, great movie. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. So, it was very unexpected.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was a great film. So as a director of photography, many people like us probably want to know, what is a director of photography? What do they do?
The director of photography is kind of it's a very vital role to any creative project, when it comes to film, TV, or anything shooting a camera, essentially. So everybody knows we have our director, and they're in charge of the overall feel and look of the movie and the direction as far as the actors are concerned. The director of photography, I'm like their right-hand man, where I'm in charge of the camera, the lighting, and the composition, and all the camera movement. So pretty much I'm like the director of the technical side, or the technical arts, as you will, where I, stylize and light the movie and give it that look that everybody knows so well,
It feels like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing.
No, it's taken me 15 years to get where I am, so it's a long road, and it's a lot to learn. You have to manage so many different departments, and I'm responsible for so many different crew members and how the project turns out. So it's quite sometimes it can be overwhelming, but for the most part, it's like a dream job, and that's my dream come true that I was able to do it.
That's awesome. You know what? I have other questions, but now I'm wondering, how did you actually get into this profession, and how did you become a director of photography?
I'll give you the Coles Notes version because the real version is so long. But I started off in photography. I went to school for photography. I got it when I got out of school. I started doing commercial and fashion photography in Toronto, Canada. And unfortunately, we lost our fashion week, and it became harder and harder to get more work. And so I was trying to figure out, what can I do to kind of stay in the same kind of avenue and job, but, kind of obviously change it up as the industry was evolving. And I started working on set, and I heard of this thing called director of photography. I'm like, I'm a photographer, and that's photography in the title. So that's kind of what happened. And I just worked my way up through different departments, through lighting, through grip, through camera, until I finally was able to make that final leap into the DOP position.
So is that normal that people will work their way up through it before you become a director of photography?
Oh yeah, it's kind of, you're either doing one of two avenues. Either you come up through the camera department, or you come up through lighting. And I came up through lighting because I felt the need to learn how to light was far more important than, pressing menu on the camera. So.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so what was your first gig as a DOP?
It was a Hallmark movie.
Was it really?
Yeah. So it was called Magical Christmas Ornaments with Jessica Lowndes.
Okay.
It was a movie I did, I think it's almost 8 years ago now. I literally came out of the pot into the fire situation, where I was working with this production company, and I was their key grip for many, many years. And I finally, one day I got the call while I was actually on my honeymoon with my wife. And they said, "Oh, we have a movie for you. Would you be able to make it back into the city today?" And I'm on the phone, on the speakerphone on my car, and my wife, my newly married wife, is right next to me, who was also at that moment, I think 7 months pregnant.
Oh,
and during the whole conversation, I said, "Can you just give me 30 minutes and I'll call you back? I just have to clear something up." And I hang up, and I look over at my wife sitting next to me, and I kind of had this cheekish smirk on my face. And she, before I even got a chance to say anything, She said, if we were in Italy, I'd tell you F no. But
Right.
because we were at our cottage for our honeymoon, let's drive back. And I said, no, let's do tomorrow. Let's have our last night together, have
Yeah.
dinner, have some semblance of our honeymoon because it was like only 3 days in. And yeah, she's a very patient woman. Um, we ended up spending the night. We drove back. She drove while I was reading the script. So 4 hours later, I make it into Toronto, and I drive right to the production office, and I prep the movie. And I only had 3 days of prep. Normally, you'd have like 3 weeks of prep.
Yes.
Right.
So it was like, yeah, it was very intense, but luckily it all turned out, and that was the first of a couple movies that I had done in that world.
That is baptism by fire. Like,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Like on your honeymoon.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty crazy.
You'll never forget that.
No, no,
And
I
neither
won't.
will your wife.
No, and I just spent the entire time like sweating buckets every day of shooting because it's just like I'm like somebody's gonna figure this out that I'm not supposed to be here. Somebody's gonna like imposter syndrome through the max. So
Well, also, if you would have known in the normal amount of time, you would have over prepared, right? Like, but you didn't even have that luxury.
oh no, no, it was just like it was so little time. It was just like okay, these are all the different locations. These are the actors, and this is your director, and go. And it was yeah, definitely definitely an interesting production.
All right, so had you been working on these movie of the weeks already as you were working your way up? So were you familiar with that process,
Oh
or was
yeah,
this just okay?
yeah. For years, I mean, like for a solid, I would say 7 years before that, I had been working on these as a key grip and as a
Right.
gaffer.
Okay.
So I'm very familiar with the format. I've probably been on close to 100 now
Wow.
MOWs, if you include the ones that I've been a technician and the ones that I've been a DOP for.
Well, at least it was not like a brand new kind
No,
of
yeah.
yeah thing that you were getting thrown onto. Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit about. You mentioned that you only had 3 days prep for that your first movie, and usually you get a longer period of time. So what does that period of prep look like for you when you're doing a project? And probably is a series much different than doing one of these MOWs?
Yeah, so I'll start with an MOW. So normally we would meet with the director, and then we would, through our few weeks of prep, we would go through every location, and we would go by scene in the different locations that we're going to be filming in. And basically, the director and I figure out how we're going to do all the shots. So we pre-plan the shots coming up. So let's say, oh, Lisa is on the Christmas market and she's running into Gerald and they have an awkward moment. So it's like, okay, we figure out where that's going to be. We figure out if it's daytime, nighttime, that has a big impact. And, I work with the director where the shots are going to be. So then I can figure out where I can place all my lights and also like deal with the sun if it's a daytime exterior because the sun is my greatest enemy. So as far as a TV show, because we work in what's called blocks. Blocks
Yep.
are 2 episode segments, as you are well aware, um, and that each director is usually different per block. So it's the same kind of concept. I just go through the director, and we block out the scenes as we call it, and it just we go through, and the director goes, "I want this shot," and I'll go, "We only have 15 minutes to get this shot, so maybe if we did it this way," and it's a big negotiation, and then we ultimately come to a conclusion and then that's when I'll go through and I will literally draw out every scene as far as like a diagram where camera positions are going to be and where the lights are going to be and where we move around for coverage.
That is
Okay,
so
so
interesting. So it's like you make your own map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do it for every scene, literally every single scene in the movie or TV show. I have a drawing of what that's going to look like and the lighting and, obviously like camera movement and that kind of stuff too.
is there ever like a bit of a negotiation? Like, you want something and somebody else wants something else?
All the time. it is a constant battle of like because in these we only have so much time, right? Our schedule is so tight because the shooting window is so small. So it is like okay, we will pick and choose like those really awesome creative feature film shots, and we'll pepper them throughout the schedule because reality is we can't have every single one of those shots
Yeah.
in every single frame. So it's just like you kind of you play this juggling act of like scenes that are really important to character and story and plot, and then there's the other ones that are just kind of filler or character development stuff that doesn't really matter as much, especially if it's like a tertiary character. So that's how we kind of navigate that.
Wow. Okay. So, one of my favorite things about doing this podcast over the last few years has been talking to directors. And I think you're our first DOP, but learning all these behind the scenes, because when you're watching it, now you just have this whole new appreciation for what goes into it. And then and the shots, like you start to notice things, like we will notice when it's a big beautiful sweeping scene, and it just, I think learning about the technical parts of that really has helped me appreciate it even more as a viewer. So I find it fascinating. So how did you end up here at When Hope Calls?
So I had been working with the Hideaway Pictures as the production company that produces these MOWs and shows in North Bay and like Northern Ontario. And I've been working with them now for close to 7 years. And the first season of Hope Calls came out. I was working on the Crossword Mysteries.
Yes.
And it was done by another DP, and I was on Crossword Mysteries. And then obviously that was 2019, 2020 hits. The big C came out, and it kind of threw everything, and that's kind of put the hold on When Hope Calls. So nobody was thinking about it for the longest time. And a couple of years ago, there was a rumor that it might come back. And, I kind of put my feelers out there to see, were they planning on going with the previous cinematographer, or the DOP, sorry, or were they looking for somebody else? Could I fit that role? And it just was a case of, years of hard work and doing every single project, whether they were big or small, where finally production and the network deemed me acceptable and gave me the chance to shoot When Hope Calls Season 2, which again was so amazing. It was the highlight of my career so far.
Oh.
Yeah. I love that. A series is a fun thing for us as viewers to see also, because you get to see like more of it, and it tends to have a bit of a look. I definitely, as the director of photography, you're contributing to that look. How would you describe the look for When Hope Calls for Brookfield and the characters?
Yeah, so I knew I know because the first season was so well loved, right? And it was, it was so wildly popular. But I wanted to bring it into kind of a more contemporary style. And I was kind of, skirting the line between what was already done and bringing my own flair to it.
Yeah.
And so something that I really pushed for was to try to use as much period lighting as I could. So I was bringing in these old tungsten lights from like the 40s to light my sets, to really kind of give it that look, the kind of that age look, you know what I mean, with keeping a little bit more cinematic feel to it. So we were playing a little more with contrast between lights and darks, and then contrasting colors. So I would mix my colors together, which would be like something like a daylight or something like a warmer, old school incandescent bulb, and we'd play with those. And for me, because this is technically a 2D media, I wanted to make it as three-dimensional as possible. So really kind of making that shape on the characters' faces, the actors' faces really stand out, and really make it feel like, it was alive and felt organic.
Yeah, that is really cool. Because I was going to ask about that, about having two different seasons and wanting to keep the same tone, but also, give it your own style. And also, like, it's a different year, and the whole show is really changing course from where it began. So to give it the new feeling through the way that you're filming and lighting is really neat. Was there a particular scene or moment that you can tell us about that really kind of shows that what you were trying to portray, like that?
I got to be careful because we have episodes that haven't aired yet. So
Yes.
there's like scenes coming up that I'm really, really excited about, but I unfortunately can't talk about them just yet. I would say, though, the thing that I really pushed hard on was the orphanage, and really, at the orphanage, really, making it feel like home, but still making it feel, more modern and more contemporary as far as lighting is concerned. Like, I wanted to make it really look as cinematic as possible while still kind of because the orphanage has such great textures to it and great colors. The design on that set is just gorgeous. So I really wanted to use that as my motivation for the different tones that we were playing with, and I was really proud of that moment. I think my favorite little bit was it's on the first episode, the opening sequence with the little blind girl as she walked in looking for her teddy bear that she dropped. That was one of those scenes that I was just so I just fell in love with because it set the tone for the whole show, and
Yeah.
it was something that I was very happy and proud with, and I'm very proud of the team that I had and what we were able to accomplish.
I think in this season in particular, now that you have said that, I was going to say I feel like this season I have been walking through the orphanage, walking through the house. We're in the rooms with them. We feel like we're in the space as opposed to looking through a window
Looking
to
at
the
it,
space.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that you said that. I'm like, oh no, for sure, we can see that and feel that as viewers.
Yeah, and something that I really tried to do with the orphanage is because each room is connected in the main floor, and it has this beautiful ability to shoot through the space. And so I tried to always shoot through the space and feel as much depth as I could.
Right.
And we put a lot of movement in the camera too to kind of really bring that out. So it's for you to say that it means that we were successful, which is kind of really warming in the heart. So it's nice to hear.
Yeah, and you know what? I was wondering if the way you decided to kind of set this visual tone for When Hope Calls, I feel like it's a little bit of a complicated situation in a sense because of the first season being so different than the second season and where it's going. And also its connection to When Calls the Heart over on Hallmark. So it's all the same kind of fan base, and we know that there's a connection there. We've had crossovers in the past, but it's still two very different shows. So did that impact you at all as you were planning this out?
Yeah, I did look at When Calls the Heart for inspiration, especially the later seasons. It's a beautiful show. Like, there's no denying it. The cinematography, whoever the director of photography is doing beautiful work. Because every time I watch it, it's just it's kind of a little bit of envy because you're like, oh wow, this is really nice. So yeah, I definitely was. I used that as a lot of inspiration for the later seasons, especially, and I've worked with a lot of the actors on that show as well.
Yeah.
So it's a show that I also really enjoy just because I'm friends with some of the actors on it. So yeah, there was a lot of inspiration there.
So you've talked about the orphanage and how you love that, and we've talked about sweeping, beautiful cinematic shots, which you have some absolutely stunning land and ranch and just
Yeah.
a space where Brookfield is.
Yeah.
What do you like as a cinematographer when you get the opportunity to shoot those big outside shots?
Well, we were lucky because we shot in fall, so like the
Yes, you
colors in
did.
Northern
Colors.
Ontario just started
Yeah.
popping. So we, especially when it came with like Tessa's Ranch, for example, being able to be outside on the horses, we'd throw a big long lens on, and it really crunched and made everything so milky in the background, where you just see a wall of color behind the actors, and it's just like for me, the dream. I've always wanted to do westerns. That's kind of my favorite genre
Yeah.
myself. So being able to shoot the exteriors with the horses and the cattle, when we started getting the cattle too, that's kind of what I love the most is being able to really feel the space, and when you're working with actors and horses, how can you not love it? It's so much fun.
Is there anything that's challenging about shooting horses?
Everything. Absolutely everything. They have their own temperaments and their own vibes, and sometimes they're like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And other times they're like, no, I'm not moving, or I'm not going to go the way you want, or I'm just going to decide to randomly run as fast as I can somewhere. And, I watched Cindy, we had a lot of scenes in the wagon with Cindy,
Yeah.
and she is such a boss when it comes to those horses. She took it to like fish to water because she was making all the right calls. She got them to stop. It was kind of amazing watching her and do her thing.
Busting out her heartland
For
skills, huh?
Heartland skills,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Another one was Trevor Donovan. He just because he was only on for a few days, and the first scene he had with us, it was the scene where him and Chris are riding off
Yeah.
on their horses, and I just watched Trevor hop on and go bam, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, there we go.
He knows how to
Trevor,
ride.
he knows how to ride. He knows how to ride, and I'm like, oh, you're already perfect as is. You had to throw horse riding in there too, didn't you? Like, give the rest of us guys a chance.
It's hard to compete with Trevor Donovan. um, okay, so we're talking about the outdoors, and we've talked a little bit about the indoors. So what's more challenging to do? Is it being outside because of the sun and the weather? Is that
Oh
more
yeah,
challenging than being out? Yeah.
yeah. The interiors I have absolute control, and for example, there was one day where we had a lightning storm in the fall, and we had to shut down all of our main generators because of regulations within Canada as far as like safety is concerned. So I was able to light the entire set with battery lights. So like just to give you an example, like how much control I have, even with lightning and thunder shutting down all our power, we can still light and shoot the scene. Now when we're outside, depending on what you are, whether you're shooting day or night,
Yeah.
it's huge because all of a sudden you're trying to show an entire world, and you'll see as this season comes to a wrap, there's a lot more exteriors, and especially nighttime exteriors, and we're lighting entire fields, you know what I mean, that are like
Wow.
60, 70 acres, and you're trying to light it because if you don't, you're just going to see actors in the middle of inky nothingness. So you want to really make it feel like they're in the space. So it's massive lighting setups, massive 100-foot cranes with lights on top of them, thousands of feet of cable. It's huge, and people don't understand and realize how big those setups can get and how much is required. Because, like I said, if you're shooting a scene outside and you can't see anything, what's the point of shooting it?
Right.
And then
So
when it's daytime, I'm shooting actors, I'm shooting female leads, and we want to make sure that they look good. And when the sun's shooting directly over your head, it doesn't make anybody look good. So then the next thing you know, you're bringing in what we call fly swatters, which is this big giant 20-foot frame that's on a crane that goes overhead of the actors, and so we use all these tools, and it just size is so much bigger. It's massive scope.
Okay, so it feels like when you're doing these outdoor scenes, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's really complicated. So what makes you decide to do them outside and not just like have them talk inside the restaurant or something? Is it for
That
story
is,
impact?
yeah. That's based obviously the writing. So
Yep.
it depends on the scene because it's not going to make sense. Of them wrangling cattle indoors. So like there's scenes
True.
outside, and there's connective pieces. So like for example, when Ronnie's talking to Fletcher in the Mounties office about all the things that he wants to do, and then he runs out to go talk to somebody else, gets reminded of a thing, goes back inside. That's you got to have those connective pieces. And if you play everything inside, it makes it feel more like studio shoot, and
Yes.
it's something very
Yes.
obvious to the audience. And it always looks better outside, no matter what. It always 100% looks better outside. So you gotta find that. And we have a lot of exteriors on the show.
Yeah, a lot of beautiful exteriors. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think your outdoor shots really help us feel like we're at Brookfield. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
that we're in the town, we know the town, we know where we're going. That it's just kind of a fun bonus thing to have. How about when you're shooting group scenes? There's a really fun group scene early in the season here where the auction for the ranch is happening. What are some of the things that you got to think about as a director of photography for a big group like that?
Well, as soon as you involve multiple cast members, and you're getting in that larger number, like the auction was, you got to cover every single one of them, and every one of them needs to look good in their coverage. So it's you're just shooting more. It's just more and more and more, and then it's trying to find a creative way of getting to that quickly. So what we'll like for that scene, for example, I operate a gimbal where I've actually mounted the camera to my body and I carry it with me. And so, through that tiny little space, I'm walking backwards, fishing through actors and tables and chairs to try to reveal the scene while I have another camera trying to start to get coverage. So it's just, it's a balancing act, really, of trying to get as much as you can while still making it look as great as you can. So, that those bigger, character scenes, it's just much more work. It just compounds exponentially the amount of work you have to do.
How long did that take you all to film?
That one scene was close to 4 hours.
I believe it. There was so much back and forth
Yeah.
in that scene, and so many different people or groups that were interacting. I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah, but you know what? It works so well because the characters and the actors are playing so well off of each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it when you watch the scene, it's so snappy, and it's really you don't get bogged down in it. It's just the writing's really great on this show, and it definitely helps keeping the pace going. So
Yeah. Alfonso Marino's the showrunner,
yeah,
and
he's great.
he also wrote 3 seasons on Wind Calls the Heart, so fans are very aware of his writing
Familiar.
style and
Yeah.
the warmth and some of the fun. So
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite scene that you shot this year?
So that's tricky because I can't talk about the favorite scene yet.
Okay, so it's coming up.
So I can do my second favorite scene.
Okay,
and,
let's do it.
That I would say was I don't know. Wait, hold on. I can't talk about that scene either. I'm just trying to think of where we are at. Yeah. So no, I can definitely. My favorite scene I would say that we've seen so far. My third favorite scene is when everybody's going to town with the kids and they're walking through the field and you see the vista of the town and the fall colors and we're saying goodbye to Morgan.
Yes.
So like that whole scene of the kids going through the field is definitely I think one of my favorites as far as just look.
It's beautiful. The leaves. One thing I did notice is the wind. So did that affect you at all?
Well, let me tell you that that was challenging. Yeah, and I on one of my social media posts, I actually had to apologize to the actors because I was really the one that made them do the walking through the field because the director's like, oh no, we'll just take the path. I'm like, no, this is the shot. This is gonna look way better. And I'm like, I go to Cindy. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to walk through this field in heels. It's my fault. And again, I'm so blessed to have Cindy and Chris they're just so gracious and they're so kind and they're the leads you kind of wish you would have on every project. Yeah. And so I was very fortunate that they were all cool and 5 takes later, nobody broke an ankle, thankfully. But yeah, the wind, oh man, did that ever beat us up? But luckily, there's this thing, ADR, so like if the audio is really bad, they just record it afterwards. But it definitely makes it challenging for the hair. And there was one scene where was Cindy and Morgan on the front porch, and the wind was so bad, and we literally, like, the last scene of the day, and we had to get it done, and there was 4 burly men just right behind the actors, just off the frame, with these giant flags, just trying to block the wind, and I actually had to step in and grab a flag as well because we ran out of time. Oh, sorry, my Apple thing. And I'm like holding on for dear life, and this wind is blowing so hard, and you're just praying you're not going to smack the actor in the head with this giant flag. And it was a challenge.
Yeah, because I guess there's not a lot you can do about the wind. I mean, you can put like rain covers and different things like that, but you can't really stop the wind. So
No, in fact, we end up losing a lot of our like tools because of, again, safety. So that fly swatter thing I told you about, after like 15-mile-an-hour winds, you got to put it down. You
yeah,
can't use it anymore. So it's just like
yeah.
you still have these scenes to shoot, and you still have to make, again, the actors look good. So you kind of have to really learn how to change gears quickly.
Well,
You just got to adapt. I mean, you are blessed to have such a beautiful set and everything there, but also all that outside is not studio,
No.
and we roll with it. I would say as viewers, though, we appreciate the work that goes into some of that. I wanted to ask a question though, about bringing in so many new characters this year. How did you, when you are thinking about how you want to introduce them on screen, do you think about that and how you want them to look when they're being
Oh
introduced?
yeah, absolutely. Like for example, when we were bringing Sarah in for her first scene, we wanted to kind of make her feel really uncomfortable, out of place, because she hasn't been here forever, and she's the city
Hmm.
slicker, and she's all these things that she used to not be, right? Because she grew up on the ranch with her uncle. But so like we definitely kind of figure out how to shoot those scenes. So like in that element, there's a little bit more comedy. So we show a big wide as she's coming in with Maurice the donkey,
Yeah.
on her little cart, and then you kind of play with that, and then also, like, for example, when we brought in Nick, it's just like, how do you make him feel more rugged? How do you really kind of set the tone for those characters and their relationships? And the cool thing is, watching these characters evolve as quickly as they do in the season is really
Yeah.
exciting, because you just really see those relationships blossom so fast, but in a really natural way. So that's kind of what we've been doing, is just seeing what the character is, what the tone of the point of the plot is at that moment, and go from there.
Sarah loved coming in with the donkey.
Oh my god, I was dying, and Sarah is the sweetest human being on the planet, and so watching her doing this, and it was so funny, because Maurice the donkey, he stole the show. Everybody that day on set were like, "Can I pet him?" And you have like 40 crew members just kind of lining up wanting to pet the donkey. It was a great day.
Fun.
that's fun. Um, John, tell us something that maybe we wouldn't think to ask you about working on this show and being the DOP.
Oh, that's a good question. It would be the sets. So we introduced a new location, which is the new ranch,
Yeah.
and that set was built in. I'm not joking, like a month, and it was a full-on house. And they had to come, and it was raining, and it's way in the back of the back lot, so
Right.
it's even further back, and it's just mud puddle. It's just like a giant swamp where it was. And so that when you have to get gear all the way down there, all of a sudden you have to realize, oh, I only have so many crew members, and they're pushing things by hand, by cart. So it's just like, you're at that point, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the bare minimum that I need down here to try to get my job done without trying to kill the entire crew, because we have like 5 more days this week to get through, and we have a lot of schlepping to do. So that's kind of the biggest thing for me as a DOP, is just always kind of playing that balancing act between wanting to use everything under the sun for lighting, or trying to make it as efficient and easy as possible, because I came up as a crew member, so I never like beating them up too much. I
Right.
always try to be thinking
Yeah.
of them, because they work really hard, and I need to get the 8 weeks of work out of them. And it's not going to be fun if I just constantly beat them up by pulling every light off the truck.
So, what I'm hearing is that you cannot just truck this all back to the ranch.
No.
You have to hand push it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the
We
road got
need.
so muddy, there was no vehicle
Wow.
was getting back there.
Yeah.
And then there was the other problem: we couldn't drive in the field because there was no car tracks in the fields back then. So if you were shooting a scene then we had lots of scenes in those fields. If you see a bunch of car tracks, it's not going to make sense, right? Because they're all on
Yeah.
horseback in a ranch on a mountain. So we can't ruin the grass. That was such a big. Everybody's like, "Don't ruin the grass." It's just, yeah. was a thing.
Definitely something I hadn't thought of. So yeah.
But right, like you guys use those spaces to film, so
Yeah. So trying to figure out how to get stuff where it needs to go without ruining the shots that need it. And the last night of shooting, we had a big night exterior, and I brought in 100-foot crane that was supposed to go way down the hill, and it ended up getting stuck up to the axle,
Oh no.
and we had to call in a tow truck to pull it out. And I'm there with my crew trying to dig the thing out. We're trying to put these boards on the tires, and the tow truck's trying to pull it out. And this is the last day of shooting, and it's the big finale, and everything is failing, everything's falling apart, and I'm just sitting there knee deep in mud and just trying to gather my thoughts. And yeah, it was a challenge. So.
did you
Did you
get it
get the
out?
shot?
We ended up getting it out, yeah, and then it was a quick changing of gears to, okay, that's not there now. Let's figure out how I'm going to do this. And it's all of a sudden the big thing about being a DOP is like you got to work on the fly and just
Right.
you need to adapt so quickly. So yeah.
Do you think the fact that you've done this for so long that is what allows you to kind of switch really quick?
Oh yeah. If I didn't have the experience as a technician beforehand, as a gaffer and key grip, there'd been no way to be able to do what I do. It's been a big blessing for me. I would say that my crew probably think it's a curse at sometimes because I always go, no, I know we can do that. I know how long that takes. So they're always like, God, John. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Come on, you can do it.
Yeah,
I know.
I too much to the chagrin of my crew sometimes. I'm just like, I know how long that takes to do.
Would you say that you have a style, or if we see something that's maybe like a signature style or something that you do as a DOP?
Yeah. So there's the infirmary is a good example of it. I like to bring in when we're shooting interiors. I like to bring in big swaths of light. So you'll see the raking light on the walls, and then you also see like different colors of light. So that's things I like to do is like I like to try to bring in the light from outside and try not
Okay.
to light from inside as much as possible because it makes it feel more natural, right? Because that's where the sun would be naturally coming from. And the thing we had to do, because we had so many locations in such little time, I had to develop a way to get the kind of atmosphere lighting in all the locations. So what we did, we came up with this idea of these silicone LED strips that were about 30 feet long, and we did giant rings in all the sets. And we would come in, and I had a custom controller made and everything from a company here in Toronto. And we came in, and it's all controlled from an iPad. And so
Wow.
so we put this in every location, and so we'd be able to walk on set, and a good 50% of the lighting was already done because we had these in the ceiling lights. So that was kind of a big one.
That is cool. Yeah. I mean, it must have made your life so much easier.
Yeah. The initial setup was a bit stressful because
Yeah.
we're setting
Yeah.
up these lights, and then we have to skirt them with this black material, so that way it stops the light spill on the walls. Because the one thing that never makes any sense is if you look at a wall, the shadows, the light never reaches to the roof. You'll never see
Right.
light going to the crease of the roof. And if you have lights there, you have to cut it off so it doesn't look, because that whole uncanny valley, because people know lighting so well subconsciously. When you see something that doesn't look right, people immediately know, without knowing what it is.
Right. Um, so say there was a season 3, would you be able to reuse those lights?
Oh yeah. We install them in the ceiling, and then we take them down at the end of the year, and then we'll just put them back up. We left all the mounting clips in the ceilings for it, so
It'll be much easier the next time.
yeah, because we've kind of really figured the look that we are going for, and we've kind of really established and a really efficient way of getting there.
So you talked about using different colors.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about that and how you use them. Are you using them to like show the mood or just the time of day, or give us a little bit more detail about
Yeah,
that?
so it's actually a bit of both, really. So the color spectrum that we're using is, as when I refer to color, is from cooler or bluer light to warmer light. So sun being on the cooler side, and light that you would have inside tend to be warmer. Incandescent bulbs is something that we used before the little LED white lights everybody has in their house now. So I like to use that color contrast to help really give shape and depth to the scene. And what that also allows me to do is it allows me to bring in a contrast to kind of really make it have more gravity, more gravitas to it as well. Because I like feeling the weight, and I like to feel the dynamic, of that. Again, like I said, because it's a two-dimensional medium, you want to make it feel three-dimensional when you're looking at it. You want to make it feel as natural as possible. And when it's a more somber scene, I'll bring down the levels, mood it up a little bit with a little bit more contrast. And when it's a bright, happy scene, we'll liven it up and brighten it up a bit. So it's really depending. And you'll notice that a lot on this episodes coming up. I'm so excited.
Okay.
I can't wait for you guys to see them. They're so good.
It really starts moving. Things are starting to move.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. I've been trying to pay attention more to the lighting when I'm watching, because after talking to some directors, Crystal Lowe was probably one of the big ones about how she loves to use color in her movies. So I've been trying to learn a little bit about that just as a viewer, I find it so interesting.
It's all about feeling, right? Light gives you a feeling, and colors give you a feeling. And my job as a DOP is to make you feel something without knowing why or what's causing you to feel that way. I don't want you to notice the lighting. I don't want you to think about the lighting. I want that to be an afterthought, because I want you so lost in the story and so lost in what you're seeing. So that's really the goal of any cinematographer or DOP is I don't want you to notice the lighting.
Right.
I want it to look as natural and real as possible while still having, the look to the genre that we're using or we're shooting.
Right.
So like we're lost at the cabin, and Hannah's story there when she's first there, and how dark it is, and there's a raccoon, and like it feels a little scary. You don't want us to think about how it's lit. You want us to know she might not want to stay there tonight, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like again, my job is to help invoke an emotion, and I do that by how I light it. And again, if you notice that lighting, then my job wasn't done well. So
No, I don't think it's ever really noticeable, but I think it's the mood. You notice the mood, and then you can see it a little bit more. But I feel like I could ask a million more questions. But would you play a game with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's a favorites game, so it's not really a game. You can give more than one answer.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Ooh, I have. That's such a hard question to ask a filmmaker. Yeah, so I have like 10 favorite movies.
Yeah.
But so the first movie that got me interested in making movies was Jurassic Park. I was a kid when that came out, so that the original Jurassic Park, Steven Spielberg is like one of those directors that for me really kind of brought me into the industry, made me want to get into the business. Modern movies, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a new movie that a couple years ago just blew me away. Visuals of that movie was stunning. Where they went with it, how creative and how experimental they were on that movie was phenomenal. I couldn't be a guy and also a director of photography without saying The Godfather. Godfather is like the perfect story, in my opinion. And then I would say one of my all-time favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption to this day. That's like I just think it's such a gorgeous story and so beautifully shot. It's just one of those movies I can watch over and over again. So
those are
good answers.
I love the variety of those. And The Godfather. I always take the cannoli.
Yeah, man.
So good. Do you have a favorite TV series or something you're currently binging?
It's gonna sound funny, but I just went through all the different Yellowstone series. I just I've just finished the 1921 with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. That one was like
The second season.
the second. Oh my gosh! That show. Whew, that one got me. It got me good.
Every time I'm on that, I'm just like, no, no. Oh, okay, yep, here we go.
Oh no, my wife and I just binged it, and yeah, it was I just really enjoyed it. I really really enjoyed it. And then before we
Yeah.
did Hope Calls, I had actually just binged all of Yellowstone with my wife as well. So like that kind of had a little bit of influence in is what we were doing as well.
Did you do 1883 too?
I haven't done that one yet. I've
So
watched.
good.
Yeah,
My
I
favorite,
kinda
actually. So
I jumped. I went. We were going backwards with the
Yeah,
seasons,
yeah.
so that's kind of the idea.
as you should.
Yeah, and we're gonna watch that one next. It's so I'm excited.
So that's my favorite of all
Yeah.
the ones in the Yellowstone. It's only 10 episodes, and you feel
A lot
it's
of
little-
things.
it's
I
little
know a lot
like-
about this. I know a lot about the show and like the story and plot and everything because like obviously the internet like loves leaking things.
Yeah.
So like I'm really excited. I know what happens, but I'm like still really excited.
Yeah.
I love how the game Oregon Trail essentially is playing out in front
Yeah,
of
yeah,
you. And you're just like, they're coming up to a river and it's like, cross the river, don't cross the river.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yep, here we go. So
yeah.
I know. What about Landman? Have you seen Landman yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. I'm not finished with it yet.
Is
but
it good?
yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Okay, that's
Kayla
on my-
Wallace, who is Fiona on When Calls the Heart, is a lead on that show.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Very cool. When you are not making movie magic, do you have a favorite hobby?
I got too many hobbies, my wife would say. Photography. I love taking pictures of my two boys.
Yeah.
So it's something I do a lot is pull out the camera and I got a little guy 4 years old and a 7-year-old, Odin and Bjorn, and taking pictures of them. Also, we like fishing.
Yeah.
My boys and I, we were just at the cottage before last week. I played hooky with school with them. I took them out with school for a whole week, and we just did all the feral things. We went off-roading, we went fishing, we went hiking, fires, just did it all. So like anything outdoors really is kind of where my hobbies lie.
That sounds like a perfect week, actually.
Oh, it was magical. We were about to get into production on another show, so I knew I was going to be gone for like 12 weeks. So I'm like, I just, looked at my wife. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm taking them out of school and I'm having this moment with them before I don't see them for a while.
That's important, I think.
Absolutely.
More important than being in school, honestly.
Yeah.
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 Well, they're at the age where it doesn't matter that much. Grade 1
Yes.
and junior kindergarten, miss a day.
They're young.
Yes. Spending time with dad, yeah.
Yeah.
More important at this age, for sure.
Do you have favorite musician, band?
Ooh, yeah. So I'm definitely a big blues guy. In Toronto, Buddy Guy every year comes to do a show in Toronto, Massey Hall, because it was the first concert he ever played live at. It was in Toronto. So I would try to get to see the Buddy Hall concert whenever I can, or Buddy Guy at the Massey Hall venue. Definitely a big Smashing Pumpkins guy. I grew up in the 90s, so 90s grunge and that whole world is a big one for me. And as far as like right now, I've got a really eclectic taste in music. I'm really all over the map. I can be listening to country one second and then weird like techno beats the other second. I like as a creative, I kind of like try to be inspired by, all different art forms. So like I allow myself to be open to anything.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Smashing Pumpkins song?
Ooh, Zero.
Zero. Yeah.
So here's a question from what you just talked about music. Do you make yourself like a little soundtrack for each project? Like we've talked to some people that music really influences, what they do.
So I make the playlist on my phone, and I had one. It's a country soundtrack. It's literally country on my phone, and this was the one that I had for Hope Calls.
Okay.
So like I was always like I had my Bluetooth headphones in, and I'd like be in a setup and I'd be listening to it, and depending on the scene, it was either a more somber or like more uplifting. So like I play music myself, so music is a big part of my life. So like I play the guitar and a couple other instruments. So like I definitely like music will help me inspire me on a project depending on what it is, for sure.
I love that. We need your soundtrack.
Oh man, I'll share it. Like I have like, and it goes all over the place. And because my boys, they're my little Vikings because they're both named after Vikings.
Yes.
I even have like a Norseman, and like they're big into sea shanties right now. So we're playing like sea shanties to a 4 and 7-year-old. It's they're hilarious.
That's the best.
Yeah. My youngest, he's really big into song 2. So he calls it the woohoo song. He's like, Dad, play woohoo. I'm like, okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Your Viking family could come hang out in Minnesota with me.
Yeah, I definitely, they're, my boys are the best.
That's awesome.
That's cute. Right now, my boys are into Benson Boone, so
Oh,
I'm
cool.
okay with that.
Nice.
Yes.
How old are your kids?
Yes. Oh, I have 3. I have a almost 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
Okay, so we got a 7-year-old matching, so there.
Yep. But yeah, they're fun. It's either that or like some dumb YouTubers.
I'm lucky. Like my wife's like, she used to actually be a DJ at a radio station in Toronto.
Okay, that's
So,
fun.
yeah, so she's really like, she's one of the only other people that I've like enjoyed her music taste, because she's got an amazing taste in music. When she was giving birth to our first, while she was giving birth, we were playing Led Zeppelin's "Immigrant Song" the entire time.
Yeah.
and it was it was hilarious. The doctor comes in, he's like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah."
When Led Zeppelin, I'm all in.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I say dumb YouTubers, but they are all millionaire YouTubers, so they can't be that dumb.
No, they're doing something right.
They're doing something right.
They're giving us a run for our money.
For sure. John, what else can we look for in the future for you? Do you have any new projects coming up?
Unfortunately, not much I can say, because unfortunately new projects are under an NDA. I got a couple of MOWs that we're going to be doing back-to-back for Hallmark that I can say as much. We're fingers crossed about Hope Call Season 3. Like that's I have some big plans for the next season as far as cinematography is concerned. But right now I'm just really excited about my CSA nomination, which I'm going to the award ceremony on the end of the month. So that's May, which is really exciting. It's my first nomination for anything like this. So, my wife and I, we're going to get all gussied up, and I'm pulling out the tuxedo, and she's getting a nice gown. So we're gonna go live the high life for the first time in ever.
Well, congratulations again on that nomination. That is really quite the honor.
Yeah, I was really proud of that movie. We set out to make a movie in a more eco-friendly way. So we weren't using large generation, and we were using a lot of LED lights. So we were able to get nominated for a show where we were trying something different. Was really kind of exciting for us as a production. And working with Will is like always the dream come true. Will is he's a sweetheart.
We love Will.
Yeah, I definitely got a man crush on him, so...
He's just a great guy, too.
Oh, yeah.
They're just both very sweet people. Yeah. We got to meet Brooke in person a few years back, and we've had Will on a couple of times, so he's definitely a favorite. We usually have, like, morning... It's, like, early morning here for us, and
he's
way later for him. Yeah. He's great. And tell everybody where they can follow you on social media so we can...
I pretty much just stick to Instagram. So it's John Yapp, DOP at Instagram. That's where I post. And, I always kind of try to show shots that I like and also how we got them. So that's where you can find me. That's where I live.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. And we hope to have you back sometime.
Well, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.